Now, your #1 4:30 newscast. Channel 8 Eyewitness News in HD.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. Today is Election Day here in Southern Nevada.
Voters in 5 cities are choosing city council members, a couple of mayors, and some municipal judges.
We start our coverage with Eyewitness News reporter Aaron Drawhorn, who is live in North Las Vegas. Aaron?
Gary, Denise, no long lines here. In fact, no wait at all here at the community center at Sun City Aliante in North Las Vegas. The number of people who voted at this polling site at this very moment is 224, I believe. Workers tell us that is slightly above normal for a municipal election here at this location. But overall, across Clark County, election officials say the number of those casting ballots, as expected, has been light. In fact, with municipal general elections, turnout in Clark County has been on the decline for some 10 straight years.
A lot of times voters have a misconception that, I don't know, kind of the high-profile, bigger races such as president or governor are important, and the local government is not as important. And I think an argument could be made it's perhaps even more important directly to their lives.
North Las Vegas actually has more races on the ballot than any other city. The big draw here today is the mayoral race between longtime City Councilman Robinson and City Councilwoman Sherry Buck. Citizens here will also choose a City Council member for Ward 3, as well as a municipal court judge. Polls close tonight at 7 o'clock. As we always say, if you're in line by 7 o'clock, you'll still get to vote. But at this point, with the turnout being so light, long lines do not appear to be a factor, but they say they've had a steady stream of people here in Aliante. And that is where we are live. Aaron Drawhorn, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
Aaron, thank you very much. Voters in Henderson are also deciding on a mayor today. This is the first time in 12 years that Henderson residents get a chance to elect a new mayor. Andy Hafen is running against Steve Kirk in that race. City Council Ward 3, Kathleen Boutan versus Kathy Rosenfeld. And there are other elections taking place here in Clark County today as well. In Las Vegas, voters are picking a new member of the Las Vegas City Council. Also, elections being held in Boulder City and Mesquite.
The 2009 state legislative session is now over. The session saw lawmakers pass a $781 million tax increase to help fill a $3 billion budget shortfall. Several Republicans voted with the Democratic majority on that tax hike in exchange for cuts to public employee retirement and health care benefits, a key concession for Senate Minority Leader Bill Raggio. Today on Face to Face with John Ralston, Majority Leader Stephen Horsford disputed the notion that he conceded too much.
We had very limited time last week in order to get this budget and the revenue plan to the governor so that he could veto it, so that we could override it. And it was more important that we met our obligation than it was for me to win a political victory against the minority.
You can watch that entire interview today on Face to Face with John Ralston. That's on our sister station, Las Vegas 1, cable channel 19.
Well, as you know, congestion can be a nightmare around the valley during rush hour, but Metro Police say they have a solution of sorts. Captain Richard Collins with Metro's Traffic Bureau says about half of the congestion in southern Nevada is caused by accidents. To help, Metro's asking drivers involved in minor accidents to move their vehicles out of the way if possible.
And if we can get some of these minor accidents off the road, we could actually save time on the commutes, prevent further accidents.
Collins says minor accidents often lead to other crashes as drivers try to quickly maneuver around them. Starting next week, Metro will begin a 90-day monitoring period to try to track the reduction of traffic congestion caused by moving vehicles involved in minor accidents. Well, talk about accidents. Let's check in with Ken right now, find out what's going on the roads on this Tuesday rush hour. Ken?
Yeah, Gary, we got a lot of accidents around the valley. I was counting on some of the various web pages, including them from Metro and also from Clark County Fire Department. There's about 30 accidents around the valley. I'm just going to kind of touch on a few of them this afternoon, including this accident. This one going to be right here around Pebble and Arville in the clearing stages. But reports right now of some pretty serious injuries down here on the south side. It's a little bit south of Blue Diamond along Pebble and Arville Street, so heads up for that. Also, double troubles along a stretch of Tropicana, one here on the west side at Tropicana and Jones. We have an accident still being cleaned up at this hour. If you like to use Tropicana, you might want to consider using Hacienda as an alternate route. And on the east side around area Pecos and Tropicana, another crash, and also some issues on the 15. This time the issues are on the southbound side of the 15, right here around Flamingo. We do have a live picture right now from our fast camera system outside, bouncing around this afternoon. We were being told that some of the wind speeds are about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Might be kind of bouncing this camera around, but we got some activity off to the side causing big backups, including this backup camera up around Sahara. Wanted to show you some of these heavy delays. You're going to find traffic jammed up once again, starting at about Charleston Boulevard, and it continues solid on down to Flamingo. Find your alternate route. Always avoid the 15, Denise.
All right, Ken, good advice. Search teams have found a 3-mile path of debris from that Air France flight that disappeared over the Atlantic. Officials say it proves that the jet carrying 228 people crashed into the sea. So far, all that's been found is an airplane seat, a life jacket, and a trail of fuel. The Pentagon has sent a search and rescue team to help.
The United States wants to provide every assistance possible in investigating what's happened.
The Airbus 330 was headed from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. 3 Americans were among those now feared dead, including Ann and Michael Harris, who had just moved to Rio from Texas.
A woman faced off with a high-speed train and lived to talk about it. Her brush with death was captured on video, and we'll show it to you.
Plus, the day at the zoo turned into a nightmare. Investigators try to figure out what caused this ride to derail.
Weather for June starting out to be a little active. We had some rain yesterday morning. Today, the wind picking up. We've got winds gusts up to about 25 miles per hour in many locations out of the south. And then we're going to get ready for a cooling trend to get here later on in the week. We'll take a look at that cooling trend coming up here in a few minutes.
The morning team on Channel 8. Smart news, warm weather, and smooth traffic. Everyone says it's a time to buy, but there's an unsettling trend. What's killing the killer prices on local homes? Then cabbies paid off for driving only to preferred strip clubs. The I-Team revealed the scam. Now how one tourist plans to get those kickbacks back. Eyewitness 8 HD. High definition takes flight.
A zoo in Kentucky will stay open while investigators try to figure out why a miniature or small train derailed, sending nearly 24 people to the hospital. One child was critically hurt when 3 open-air cars and the engine fell off the tracks at the Louisville Zoo yesterday. The train circles the zoo along a 2-mile track. It's been around for nearly 40 years. The train itself that derailed was bought in the year 2000. The ride will be shut down until further notice.
Some dramatic video out of Israel today, but before we show it to you, we want you to know that the woman was not seriously hurt. In this video, you can see an Israeli woman jump on the tracks and lie down. She's circled there in red. Right then is when the train signals, comes right through that intersection. It's a high-speed train, hurdles right over her. But then once it passes, she slowly gets up, kind of stumbles around, and then walks away. There she is. Authorities say she was treated for minor injuries, but then taken to a psychiatric hospital after she admitted that she was trying to take her own life. Wow, she's so lucky.
People on board a bus that tipped over in Brazil weren't nearly as lucky. At least 29 of them were hurt when this open-air truck rolled over north of Sao Paulo on Sunday. The truck was carrying football players. At least 2 of them were rushed to the hospital to be treated. So, accidents all over.
Yeah, it seems that way. A lot of towns in the Midwest rely on the auto industry for survival. And now with GM and Chrysler bankrupt, many are worried. Coming up, we'll take you to a town not only dependent on one brand of car, but named after it.
The U.S. military is now using social networking sites to try to get information out. It's the first time that they're promoting its use in a war zone.
This is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 4:30 in high definition.
Just one day after General Motors filed for bankruptcy, towns that rely on the automaker are trying to figure out their futures too. One is Pontiac, Michigan. The town is a symbol of both good times and now bad for the auto industry. Terry Okita reports.
The city that not only produced GM Pontiacs, but also carries the name of what was one of its most popular brands, is in a world of hurt.
We are faced with economic disaster like we haven't seen before.
Coco's Coney Island sits just down the road from one of the plants that's slated for closure. GM helps keep Coco's in business, and the bankruptcy has customers, many who work at the plant, wondering what's ahead.
We don't have enough time to stay with General Motors, and yet we're too old to start over.
So how are you guys doing today?
Coco's owner says she's never seen things this bad and estimates her business is down 40% from a year ago.
A lot of times I'll ask my customers, how are you today? And they'll say, oh, I'm working today. I have a job still. That's, yeah, not real great for business.
In the last census, 22% of Pontiac lived below the poverty line. Since then, many businesses have shuttered, and many fear GM's plant closings will make things much worse. At Pop's Party Store in downtown Pontiac, there's not much celebrating going on. Business is slow, except for lottery tickets, the only American dream left for many here.
I gotta tell you, if it wasn't for the aid and the WIC program, I don't know what a lot of these kids would do in this city.
The headlines call Monday's bankruptcy a day of infamy. It was the first day for many on the new, uncertain road ahead. Terry Okita, CBS News, Pontiac.
Darren Miller's here. He's got facts and figures from the last month.
Wow, yes. May broke a couple of records, really. It was the warmest May ever on record. It was also the tied for the driest ever with 6 other months. Boy, it's crazy stuff here. And it was also the least windy May ever because normally May is our windiest month. We average about 11.2 miles per hour. Last month, only 7.1. So no winds last month, but they will be here for the next week or so because we have an airflow pressure off the coast that's going to move inland probably around Thursday into Friday, and that will cool us down. In fact, we're talking about 80s in the 7-day forecast. A lot of dry air out there as well because for the past week or so we had a lot of moisture. Now we're seeing that airflow pressure pull in a southwest flow, ushering in drier air, and that's why the humidity levels have dropped down significantly. There's a look at the winds outside. So the wind's kicking up, say, between 5 and 15 miles per hour as that airflow pressure gets a little bit closer, and it will be windier as we get towards Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Temperature-wise outside right now, once again, it is very, very warm. 96 right now in East Washington, Monte Vista at 98. South Durango, you're in the upper 80s. North Buffalo at 92. So once again, we're talking about 90s. We're going to get some 80s, we think, in the 7-day forecast. A little bit cooler over the weekend. Caliente at 86. Lake Mead at 96. And even warmer down the South Laughlin, checking in right now at 100 degrees. Other temperatures around the U.S., and it's nice and warm. Look at Seattle right now at 87. Much cooler in Denmark at 47 degrees. We're at 96. Phoenix at 101. Very humid down the south here with all that moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Atlanta right now at 88 degrees. Miami in the upper 70s. And you can see up towards Boston right now in the upper 70s as well. So high pressure builds in. It's going to slowly push off to the east. And we're going to watch this low right here. What it's going to do is going to move inland by Thursday. We'll see the winds kick up. And then once it moves in, it'll cool us down. So we're talking about, we've had, what, 30 or 40 days of temperatures in the 90s for the past month or so. And we're going to see finally some 80s ushering into the 7-day forecast. There's a look at the radar. And for the most part, once again, most of the moisture is up towards the northern part of the state. So 72 tonight with a light breeze. Tomorrow we're forecasting a high of 93. It'll still be breezy. The winds will be out of the south 10 to 15 miles per hour. Take a look at this 7-day forecast. So 90s tomorrow and Thursday. Then once that low gets here, it'll be a little bit cooler. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're thinking we're going to be in the 80s. Haven't been in the 80s in about since the early beginning of May. And then Monday and Tuesday, we'll get back into the lower 90s. So that'll be something to look forward to, even though we might see a couple of thunderstorms on Saturday. We're talking about 80s, a cooling trend. I haven't talked about that since back in, I don't know, January. So that's something to look forward to, you guys. There you go.
Thanks, all right, he's reporting a cooling trend. Our sports director, Chris Matthews, is reporting that Las Vegas will host the Mountain West basketball tournament for at least another 4 years. The league's board of directors said this afternoon that Thomas & Mack has been awarded the tourney through the 2013 season. Las Vegas has 1 more year left on its current agreement with the league. Chris Matthews will have reaction coming up on Eyewitness News at 6.
And we have the pleasure of having Ken Smith in our studio this afternoon, so he's joining us live and in person to tell us what's going on with the commute today.
That's right, Denise. Our helicopter is down for a little bit of maintenance, so I'm here, present and accounted for in the studio, and we're going to talk about some accidents, including a new accident just coming into the traffic center on South Durango at the junction of the 215. That's on the southwest side of the valley, so heads up for that. We're going to take a look here along the 15 freeway. We have hefty delays coming down. We had an earlier crash on the southbound 15 right at the Flamingo off-ramp. What what it did, caused heavy delays southbound. We got speeds around 22 miles an hour, usually in the low to mid-20s. That's about where we're at. Certainly not for temperature, but for traffic, that's pretty rough going there. We're going to take a live look outside and show you some of the activity here along the 15 freeway. These are all the cars heading south here, right between Charleston and Sahara. Northbound also a bit slow and go as well. So both sides of the highway in pretty rough shape this afternoon. We got all kinds of travel times as well. I want to show you our travel times. If we can go back to our maps, you're going to see here, if you're going to be making that journey along that stretch from the 215 to the Spaghetti Bowl, you're going to find some heavy delays, about a 22-minute drive time. Just from the Spaghetti Bowl down to Flamingo alone, it's going to be a very, very long drive. Denise, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Ken, thank you. A man accused of killing a soldier in a political and religious attack on a military recruiting center has pled not guilty. The man, who is Muslim, appeared in court in Little Rock today and was ordered held without bail. He's charged with the shooting death of 23-year-old William Long just outside an Army-Navy career center. Another soldier was also shot, but we're told he will recover. Police say the suspect had converted to Islam and was not part of a broader scheme to attack the American military.
An American soldier has been killed in Iraq. The military says he was killed in a roadside bombing in Baghdad. The bombing is under investigation. More than 4,300 members of the U.S. military have now been since that war began in March of 2003. U.S. military has found a new way to communicate with Americans during the war. In Afghanistan, the military has launched a Facebook page, YouTube website, and feeds on Twitter. Just yesterday, the military posted news about the death of a U.S. soldier in southern Afghanistan on Twitter just hours after releasing a news statement. But they're also encouraging soldiers to use the websites to post stories and photos to share with people back home what life is really like in a war zone.
By allowing troops to communicate directly with people back home, it's going to give the American public a whole new vision of what it's like here. And we really see that as a excellent way to inform the populace and reach people that aren't going to get their news from traditional media.
Well, the Air Force and other branches of the military have used social networking sites before. This is the first time it's been used in an active war zone. It's a way for the military to harness the power of social networking as a primary tool to release information.
California is facing a $24.3 billion deficit, and that's jeopardizing its ability to pay its day-to-day bills. Today, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger told the legislature that California's wallet is empty and its bank is closed. The governor says lawmakers must be more efficient and learn to provide services for less in the years ahead. The speech comes just 4 months after lawmakers agreed to a 2-year budget package that was intended to close a $42 billion deficit through mid-2010. And it has been a week now since some teachers in Los Angeles have had anything to eat. They've been holding a hunger strike since last Tuesday to protect the school district's plans to lay off teachers and increase class sizes. At least 9 teachers and 2 activists are taking part in the strike. Nearly 100 more, though, are expected to join that effort.
Judge Sonia Sotomayor made the rounds on Capitol Hill today as a case that the Supreme Court nominee ruled on is drawing a lot of attention. We'll take a look when we come back.
Coming up here at 5 o'clock, plummeting home prices causing some big competition to buy those houses, and in some cases, it's actually driving up the price. We look into the heated competition to buy homes in the Valley.
This is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 4:30 in high definition.
The woman that President Obama has nominated to be the next Supreme Court justice met with Senate Majority Leader and Nevada U.S. Senator Harry Reid today, but it's not those meetings that are actually getting the most amount of attention.
It's a ruling that Judge Sonia Sotomayor made while in the Court of Appeals. Has a lot of people talking. Jason Carroll has the story of that case and a look at what might happen.
It was a controversial decision. As an appellate judge, Sonia Sotomayor, siding with the city of New Haven, Connecticut, throwing out results of firefighter promotion exams because none of the black applicants qualified. Some white firefighters say it was a case of racial discrimination. Mark Marcarelli says he worked hard to do well on the test, but it was a hollow victory.
It was robbed from me on the basis of my race.
Marcarelli may still get his victory. Some legal experts are predicting the Supreme Court will overturn that ruling, if only to allow the white firefighters' lawsuit to continue.
It's either going to be very close, 5-4, or the Supreme Court's ruling is going to be relatively narrow, and it's going to say, we don't know who wins or loses this case, we just think you need a harder look at the evidence.
Even if the High Court reverses the ruling, it wouldn't be the first time a Supreme Court nominee wound up in that kind of spotlight. John Roberts and Samuel Alito both had cases pending before the High Court when they were just being considered. All 9 justices came up through the appeals courts.
All appeals court judges have their opinions reviewed by the Supreme Court, and most appeals court judges at some point have their views overturned by the Supreme Court.
Attorney Tom Goldstein has argued 21 cases before the Supreme Court and examined Sotomayor's legal record.
She has had 3,000 cases while on the Court of Appeals and has gotten reversed in only a handful or so, and that's a pretty good record.
Jason Carroll, CNN, New York.
If Judge Sotomayor is confirmed, and most people feel she will be, she's not likely to change the ideological balance of the court much.
Now, as for that firefighter case, the Supreme Court is expected to make a ruling on it later this week, so it's very unlikely she's going to be involved in that ruling. That's going to do it here for Eyewitness News on a Tuesday at 4:30.
David Paula standing by. Eyewitness News at 5 starts in just a couple of minutes. Thanks for being with us, everybody.